And I think that's the clear message coming out of today. So, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, dear Secretary General, dear Mark, my dear friend, so distinguished colleagues. Today we have really very good meeting, another one, 31st UDCG meeting. All the partners were here. Thank you so much to Secretary General for hosting this meeting. Co-chairs, Germany and United Kingdom organized this meeting in very good way, so all the partners were prepared. We announced many good things for Ukraine. Today we also discussed how the pool project initiated by Secretary General moves. It moves very good. We have no other way to work through the pool project because the main quantity of the all air defense missiles, interceptors are supplied by United States to Europe. So now European allies, European member states pay for this supplying to Ukraine. It let us survive. We are preparing to the very tough, very difficult winter. We understand that Putin will continue his terror, will continue destroy our energy objects, our civilian infrastructure. So we need more interceptors, and actually today it was the main pillar of our attention. We need to produce Ukrainian drones to create kill zone, to create a wall of drones there in Ukraine, and then make such like multiplication of this on the east flank of NATO, east flank of Europe. So we also discussed today this opportunity. We also are concentrated on other topics. So the main is interceptor drones, FPV drones for frontline, artillery munitions, but long range distance. We also urge our partners to take a look on the stocks for this kind of munition. Frontline now is more or less stabilized, so we informed partners about the situation, how everything moves on the front line. We also continue our cooperation on the more coordinated format. We ask NATO to participate in the coordination together with United Kingdom, together with Germany. So I believe that we will have very good results after this meeting. We are planning next meeting. We make some goals for ourselves, what should we reach to the next meeting. So once again, thank you, Secretary General, dear Mark. Thank you all the partners for this support.
Thank you. Thank you so much, dear friend. And let's stay focused on all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the press conference following the Ukraine Defence Contact Group meeting with the ministers Boris Pistorius from Germany, John Healey from UK, and Denis Shmyhal from Ukraine. After the statements, we'll have time for a few questions, and we'll start with Minister Pistorius.
Yes, thank you, and welcome, Denis and John. It's good to have you, good to being together all day long and having very good discussions during the day. Today we continued our consultations about our support for Ukraine. It was the fifth meeting conducted under the joint leadership of the United Kingdom and Germany. Again, we achieved good results and sent a clear message. Denis, Ukraine can continue to count on us. Thank you, Denis, for your briefing on the situation in Ukraine. Shortly before the onset of winter, Putin is once more deliberately destroying power plants and other energy infrastructure in Ukraine. We have seen this happen in previous years too. It is a particularly malicious way of terrorizing the Ukrainian people. Germany is supporting Ukraine with around 9 billion euros this year, and we will continue our support at this level on this level. From this amount, we are currently preparing a package worth 2 billion euros. It will contain missile defense systems, state-of-the-art radar technology, and ammunition. We also participate, of course we do, in Pearl, the prioritized Ukraine requirements list with an investment of $500 million. Air defense is at the very core of our support and has been being from the beginning of the war on. We will therefore continue to invest in Ukraine's air defense and counter-drone measures. And with our enduring action on air defense initiatives, we are inviting our partners to support projects in the area of air defense. Clearly, Ukraine's defense industry is powerful and innovative. It is worth investing in, and we will help turn creative developments into reality and make proper use of existing capacities. Germany is providing 400 million euros for the procurement of long-range drones. This helps Ukraine engage Russian logistic assets beyond the front line. We are seeing some success. There is a food shortage in Russia that affects the Russian military too. It's becoming increasingly difficult to Putin at home to sell this war as a success. We can and want to learn from Ukraine and benefit from its experience. This is at the heart of the cooperation agreement signed by Denis and me. We are intensifying the collaboration between Germany's and Ukraine's defense industry. We are promoting cooperation on research and technology development. That way, we are facilitating the exchange between our two countries and industries. We are making work and study visits easier, for example, and we are promoting armed forces cooperation on training and on mutual logistic support. While this supports Ukraine, the knowledge and technology transfer strengthens our own defense capabilities as well. We are also launching a modernization initiative. Its aim is to increase the combat power and the service life of the land systems we already deliver to Ukraine. Major combat systems such as main battle tanks and infantry fighting vehicles are to be upgraded to comply with the latest standards. Those include new guns and innovative sensors. The upgrades will primarily be conducted in the existing maintenance in Ukraine. Ukraine's defense industry will be, of course, involved in this. This will be an investment in the long-term build-up of Ukraine's armed forces, and this means it will last even after a potential ceasefire. John, Denis, thank you for your very close cooperation. Close coordination with partners does make a difference. We continue to stand firmly by Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, over 50 nations came together in the Ukraine Defence Contact Group, a powerful demonstration of our broad and enduring support for Ukraine and their fight. Our mission remains as strong and as clear as ever. First, to ensure that Ukraine's armed forces have what they need to fight. Second, to work to secure peace for tomorrow. And third, to stand ready to step up still further. But until peace comes, Ukrainians, both military and civilians alike, continue to fight with huge courage. So our determination must match their defiance. Our support must match Putin's escalation, and our role as nations within the UDCG is to guarantee Ukraine's strength. In the last 8 months, in that period that Boris and I, Germany and the UK, have taken over the leadership and chair of the UDCG, the group has successfully raised pledges of over £50 billion for military aid to support Ukraine. For our part in the UK, we're spending more in military aid for Ukraine this year than ever before. In the last 6 months, we've delivered 85,000 drones to Ukraine, and Ukraine and the UK continue to deepen our industrial partnership. Through a new agreement that Minister Schmal and I have signed, we will now jointly develop improved interceptor drones and then mass produce them and get them back into Ukraine in the thousands each month. We are ramping up pressure on Putin, both military and economic, and the UK today has confirmed 92 new sanctions on Russia's energy sector, oil companies, and military supply chain. A secure Europe needs a strong Ukraine. But as we discussed at the meeting of defence ministers this morning, we've seen how President Putin's aggression is not confined to Ukraine. Drone incursions into Poland, violations of Estonia's airspace, election interference in Moldova. Deliberate or not, Putin is watching what we do, and he should be in no doubt that if NATO is threatened, we will act. He should be in no doubt we will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Thank you.
Minister Schmihal.
Dear colleagues, Secretary Healey, Minister Pistorius, today we held the 31st Ukraine Defence Contact Group meeting. UDCG remains the most important platform for coordinating international military aid to Ukraine. Dear John, dear Boris, thank you so much for your co-leadership on that platform. Ukraine is committed to peace, but we all understand Russia remains the greatest threat, not only to Ukraine, but also to all of Europe. That's why we held to act together. We need to bold actions to increase pressure on Russia to stop this war. First of all, Ukraine must be strong on the battlefield. The Pearl Initiative is a high-value NATO mechanism that converts allied support into tangible capabilities for Ukraine. I am grateful to our partners from Sweden, Latvia, Estonia, Denmark, Norway, and Slovenia for announcing contributions to the new Pearl package, but today more partners join to these contributions, and we will see much more results after today's meeting, and we are so much grateful to all the nations. It will enable us to procure the weapons we urgently need to save more lives. That includes Patriot systems and other critical US equipment. Ukraine also counts on continued coordination and financing from our partners to ensure timely deliveries through Pearl in 2025. Our next priority is Ukraine's defense industry. In 2026, we will be able to build 20 million FPV, ISR, and other drones if partners commit the necessary funding. There are cost-efficient, swift, and combat-proven solutions. I want to thank the UK for our active cooperation in the field of interceptor drones and for providing, as Secretary Healey announced, 85,000 drones this year. Today we also signed an important memorandum with Germany to strengthen defense cooperation between our countries. Thank you, Minister Pistorius. These are concrete steps to repeal Russian aggression and build an effective arsenal of democracy. Another important point today, a memorandum was signed regarding the Nordic-Baltic initiative to provide equipment and training for Ukrainian brigades on the territory of Poland. This initiative will strengthen Ukraine's defense capacity and help bring a just peace closer. During our discussion today, we also put special focus on Ukraine air defense needs. As the winter approaches, Russia is intensifying its brutal air attacks targeting our energy infrastructure. Last Friday, Russia struck Kyiv's main power plant with ballistic missiles, leaving half of the city without electricity. We are asking our partners to provide the so-called winter air defense package, a sufficient stock of interceptors to protect our civilian population and our civilian infrastructure. We are grateful to all countries that announced today their commitments to keep supplying our forces with what they need. I want to say thank you to all nations who today announced their commitments, who support Ukraine during all of this period. We believe and expect that this comprehensive support will continue. Ukraine's total defense requirement for 2026 is estimated as $120 billion. Half of this, $60 billion, will be covered from our national resources, despite the ongoing full-scale war. We call on each ally to allocate 0.25% of its GDP next year to cover the other half of these needs, because supporting Ukraine's defense means supporting Europe's security. We are grateful to our European partners for practical initiatives that strengthen Ukraine's defense programs such as SAFE, Pearl, and ERA. At the same time, Russia must pay for its unprovoked aggression. It is essential that Russian frozen funds continue to work for Ukraine's benefits. That is why we recently proposed reparation loan backed by frozen Russian assets is so important to us. It provides a lawful and sustainable way to finance Ukraine's needs. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, colleagues, let me once again express my gratitude to Secretary Healey and Minister Pistorius for organizing this UDCG meeting. Thank you. Thank you, partners, for stepping up your support. Peace in Ukraine must be just, lasting, and protected by international unity. Together, we are working to achieve it in shortest way. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the statements. Now we have time for a couple of questions. Mr. Johnny Beale from BBC.
Thank you. If I could ask Defence Secretary Healey, first of all, sorry, Jonathan Beale, BBC. If I could ask you, sir, first of all, I think the Secretary-General said that at the start of today's meeting, 6 NATO countries were going to join the Pearl Initiative, which is essentially Europe buying US military weapons to supply to Ukraine. That's grown to, I think, he said, 16 countries. But the UK isn't one of those countries. Now, Pete Hegseth, the US Defence Secretary, has described countries that aren't going to do that as freeloaders, or indicated they are freeloaders. So I just wanted to know, I'm not aware that the UK is part of that initiative. Are you going to be taking part in that initiative? I could ask Ukraine's Defence Minister, you've no doubt met with Pete Hegseth. Are you any clearer as to whether the US is ready to supply Ukraine with Tomahawk cruise missiles? You made clear in your opening remarks that you wanted long-range weapons, and you made clear which weapons those are. Those are Tomahawk cruise missiles. Did you get any indication from the US that they are ready to supply those weapons? And finally, if I could ask you, Minister Pistorius, do you sense a change in rhetoric of the US? Do you think that, you know, given where we were at the start with the first meeting with Defence Secretary Hegseth, where he was making clear that this was Europe's problem, that the US is now in a different place? And I think he said, Pete Hegseth, the US is ready to impose costs on Russia for its continued aggression. If we must take this step, the US stands ready to do our part that only the US can do. So do you think there has been a change? Thank you.
Thank you. Shall I go first?
Please, go ahead.
Pearl is one way of Ukraine's strongest allies helping to meet their military needs. We in the UK are looking hard at the Pearl programme. We're looking hard at that with other European nations and nations beyond Europe. but we as a country are spending more on military aid to support Ukraine this year than ever before. We are meeting the requirements that Ukraine has said to us they need, and we, in many cases, are doing things that only the UK is doing and funding.
So are you going to join the Pearl scheme then?
We're looking at the potential for the Pearl scheme. We're looking hard at that as a new mechanism, and we're looking at that with other European allies and nations within the UDCG beyond Europe. But we are, this year, spending the highest level of British military support on aid for Ukraine at £4.5 billion.
So we discussed today successful results of deep strike operations, which Ukraine provide by our own drones, deep strike drones, and actually we count that we destroyed 20% of refineries on Russian territory, and it brings them to the deficit of gas and gasoline on their gasoline stations. We may see the lines of cars there in Russia, and we will continue such operations. It's absolutely operations in the deep of territory of Russia, directed against of the refineries, against of the infrastructure, military infrastructure, which brings additional money and brings logistics to support war in Ukraine. So it's very, I would say, humanity operations, because we are very very precise in our operations and very carefully looks and plan these operations. But it's not enough to create pressure on Russia to stop this war, to bring Putin to the negotiation table. We need to do more, and it should be like a combination of sanctions, of deep strike attacks, of pressure on the front line. So deep strike attacks should be combined with deep strike weaponry, missiles of our partners. We discuss all types of deep strike missiles, but I think that concrete names and concrete data will announce presidents. So President of Ukraine and President of United States answering your question, or leaders of other countries, if it will be other partners who will supply to Ukraine deep strike missiles for our operations to continue and increase pressure on Russia. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think the baseline of the remarks of Pete Hegseth remains the same since the beginning in February, but still I heard, as you did, these last words of his sentence with very much interest and attention too. And I would read in that kind of change of perspective and approach, but not more for the moment. I can't interpret really what he did mean.
Thomas Gutschka, FAZ.
Thanks a lot for the question. First one to Minister Pistorius. We've heard before from Secretary General Rutte today that altogether 17 allies are now willing to contribute to the Pearl initiative. So far, $2 billion US have been committed. Can you give us an idea of the approximate amount of additional commitments done today? And a question to Minister Šmihal. When you sum up your requirements and your priorities under this program, what is the overall scope, let's say, on the basis of 12 months? I've heard US Ambassador to NATO Whitaker say yesterday it's approximately 10 billion euros, but or US dollars certainly. I'd just like to check that with you. Thank you.
If I understood it correctly, we are talking about 3 billion euros left to be booked by member states, by partners and allies from Pearl. I don't know more. I don't know a total amount about that. Until the end of the year, that's what I assumed this afternoon, John. Am I correct?
Look, this is a new arrangement, and it's still bedding in with the details. I think you will be able to check that out with the Secretary General. He's keeping a very close eye on the commitments that are made.
So let me explain the situation. You asked me about scope, as I understand, if I understand correct. So economy of war. Russia spent for financing of their military goals about $150 billion per year. Economy of war demonstrates if you spend less, you begin to pay by lives and by territories. So you need to hold this balance of economy of war. So as a minimum, we need to spend $120 billion for the 2026. In scope of 12 months, it will mean that this year, for example, we estimate that we will spend $108 billion. And it means that next year, 120, it's a minimum requirement. As a country, Ukraine may cover only half of this amount. 60 billions we may collect as a taxes, and every dollar from our taxes we direct to cover these defense expenses. So other amount we need to collect together with partners. So we need to fundraise this money, and it will be divided for a Pearl project, for European producers to produce European types of weaponry, and for Ukrainian producers to produce Ukrainian drones and Ukrainian weaponry. So in which proportions we will calculate for the next year, but the scope of needs, of financial needs, is actually so as I explained.
Sergei Sidorenko from European Pravda.
Sergei Sidorenko. I have two questions, if I may. One is about, let's say, a change in perception of Ukraine by our partners. Do you see that Ukraine is perceived as a contributor in pan-European security after attack on Poland? And because to me it is important, as a contributor to European security, should have a place in NATO. How do you see that? And regarding Pearl, that is, first of all, to our Prime Minister, до речі, з днем народження, Денис Анатолійович. I just wished a good birthday to our, sorry, Minister of Defense, still Prime Minister in my memory. So how do you see, what would be an evolution of Pearl next year? Because we see that now it is planned for this year. Would it be continued? Would it be expanded? Would it be like just the same next year? Thank you.
I think that maybe first half of the question to our friends, and the second half I will explain, if I may. So, please.
Shall I go first? The first half, the simple answer to your first question is yes. When I argue that a secure Europe requires a strong sovereign Ukraine, what Ukraine is teaching us in the way that we can see the rapid evolution of the nature of warfare, the leading edge innovation that Ukraine and battlefield techniques, for some time we have been able to learn from Ukraine. And Ukraine is increasingly recognized and understood to play a part in the training of other NATO nations' forces and in recent moves to respond to incursions into NATO airspace. Ukraine has stepped up, responded in practice, and I think is helping to demonstrate more clearly to more people how the Ukraine is fighting for its future, but the unique leading combat experience that it now has means that it can already and will in the future make a huge contribution to the security of Europe more generally.
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this high estimation. We really are ready to share our experience with our partners, with our friends and neighbors, with Europe. Unfortunately, we paid for this experience by lives of our soldiers, of our civilians, our children, but this experience is absolutely unique, and we understand that we need to share it with our friends just to resist to Russian aggression, of maybe the group of countries in future. So this is the way which we should go together. The second half of the question about Pearl next year. The Pearl is a unique project initiated by NATO Secretary General, supported by our friends and partners. We are grateful for this. There is some kind of weaponry and munition which is produced just in the United States. Ballistic missiles could be destroyed only by Patriots, by PAC-3 missiles, which are produced in the United States. Long-range artillery munition is now on the stocks only in the United States. So we need to have this weaponry, these munitions right now on the battlefield. And because of this, we need to ask United States to supply it. And we are so much grateful and appreciate this initiative and support of European partners for buying of this equipment and weaponry. I'm not sure that next year we will change situation dramatically and increase production here in European member states or there in Ukraine. We will still need to cooperate with the United States. So I'm sure that Pearl project will continue. I believe that it will be modernized in so-named mega deal where we will very precisely, very clearly note and make list of weaponry which Ukraine needs in case of continuation of such scale of war. We will discuss this with our allies, together with our friends, with Europeans, and we will discuss this with United States. And I'm sure that on the level of our presidents, this, I mean, President of Ukraine, President of United States, this agreement will be reached, and there will be everything what Ukraine needs. And then we will look for the sources, what will finance Ukraine, what will support to finance our partners, European Union, European nations, non-European allies. And then now we are discussing how may we use frozen Russian assets. So we understand that there should be three ways. If we use frozen Russian assets, there should be amount which will be directed for the European allies, some part for Ukrainian producers, and some part for co-financing of Pearl in continuation in mega deal version of the Pearl next year. So I think that that's all what I can comment.
I got a sign that time has run out, so we have only time for one last final question, and that goes to Dan Michaels from Wall Street Journal.
Thank you. Dan Michaels, Wall Street Journal. Could each of you speak very briefly about the significance of the growing industrial production in Europe? For example, Secretary Healey, Britain is producing these Octopus interceptors. How important is this also for Ukraine to get the additional production, but also the know-how for Western Europe? Thank you.
I think both Ukraine and the UK, and the new agreement that Boris has signed today demonstrates that we see, first of all, a support for the Ukrainian industry as an important direct way of supporting the Ukrainian warfighting effort. But this is also a way that we can combine, in the case of Octopus, it's a way of combining the innovation from Ukraine, the combat experience directly from the battlefield, with the modern design and mass manufacturing techniques that we can bring to bear from Great Britain. And in that way, we can supply at high volume the weaponry that Ukraine needs. We can also gear Ukrainian industry and Ukrainian companies to be able to service the Western market at the point of peace. And so that this is a way that we forge a closer relationship, but we also put the foundations in for the future beyond the fight for the point of peace.
No, I fully agree. It's about creating a win-win situation. I mean, producing jointly, mutually in Germany, in UK, together with Ukraine defense industry is something we all benefit from. It is about using the experiences and learning from the experience of the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian defense industry on the battlefield, and all what they do learn there, we can learn by them. So this is just about creating more security for Europe in the years to come. So this is about a real cooperation for the future.
Thank you so much. And two initiatives, built in Ukraine and built with Ukraine, which President of Ukraine initiated. So actually it means that in first case, built in Ukraine, means that you may immediately test everything on the testing fields, on the ground. Unfortunately, we have a war, and you may implement immediately all the innovations from the ground. This is one benefit from this approach. And built with Ukraine, it means that conditions are absolutely more secure in our partner states. We may produce all needed volumes. It differentiates the risks that Russians will destroy something on the Ukrainian territory, production facilities, I mean. And it means that we together will implement innovations which partners has. As Secretary Healey explained, we may modernize our interceptor drones with new technologies and also increase the capacity of this type of interceptors and weaponry. For example, there are different directions where we may cooperate. And we have different examples. We have German companies which are ready to invest and are investing there in Ukraine for repairment facilities, for production facilities. We also have very good examples when Ukrainian producers go to the European countries there on the European continent for production of weaponry in more secure conditions. So both approaches has benefits, and we implement both approaches.
Thank you very much for being
Michael,
here.
just a second. I just realized that we didn't give a female journalist the opportunity for a question, so maybe we should do that.
So, do you want to ask your question? The microphone is coming.
Yeah, hello, my name is Katerina. I'm from Kyiv Post. Tell me, please, what are the 3 key needs for Ukrainian armed forces today that was discussed after today's meeting, and how our partners react on this request? Thank you.
So 3 main priorities: FPV drones for the front line, and FPV ISR drones to hold the front line. This is #1 priority. It's existential priority. The second priority is interceptors, drones and missiles. We ask partners for finances for producing of the drone interceptors, and Secretary Healey announced that we will produce one of the type of these interceptors together, and plus missiles to intercept ballistic missiles, cruise missiles. So we ask it from partners from Europe and from United States. And the third priority is a deep strike. And again, finances for the production of the Ukrainian deep strike drones. And the second direction in deep strikes, this is missile for deep strikes, and we discussed this. You may name it's very famous names. We ask for all of this, and why we ask this? For precise, more massive hits on Russian military infrastructure and on Russian refineries, just to continue pressure on them. So this is 3 main priorities which are absolutely natural, and we discuss this with our partners, and we are grateful partners take it into attention very, very carefully. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
I didn't get it.
Thank you.
I didn't get it.